Today's episode of Variant is brought to you by GoDaddy.
Today on Variant, I give you the history of Winter Soldier. Welcome to Variant, where we love comics more than Vikings is one of the best TV shows ever. I'm your host, Arris. Since Captain America Winter Soldier comes out next week, it only makes sense that I do a history of episode for Winter Soldier to get you guys up to speed with the character, since obviously he's going to be a huge part of the film. So I'm going to tell you all the main things you need to know about the character just in time for his big screen debut in the new Captain America movie. Bucky Barnes made his first appearance as Winter Soldier in Captain America Volume 5, Issue 1, in Part 1 of the Out of Time storyline. Bucky Barnes has been around since the very beginning of Cap's creation, making his debut in Captain America Comics Issue 1 in 1941. When Joe Simon created his initial sketch for Captain America, for Marvel Comics' precursor Timely Comics, he included a young sidekick, Bucky Barnes, who he named after his friend Bucky Pearson, who was the star of his high school basketball team. After several years, Captain America Comics ended with issue 75, bringing an end to Bucky and Captain America, or so we thought. Captain America and Bucky were both briefly revived, along with fellow Timely stars, the Human Torch and the Submariner, in the omnibus Young Men issue 24 in December of 1953, which was published by Marvel's 1950s iteration Atlas Comics. Bucky appeared alongside Captain America in stories published during the next year in Young Men and Men's Adventures. Cap even came back with Bucky in his original title once again, but it only lasted 3 issues that continued the old Captain America numbering. Sales were poor, however, only lasting 3 issues, and the series was discontinued with Captain America issue 78 in September of 1954. In March 1964, 10 years later, Captain America makes his permanent return in Avengers issue 4. In this issue, we learn Captain America and Bucky went missing near the end of World War II. It's also the issue that Cap joins the Avengers. Now, Captain America did return to the comics, but Bucky did not. He only appeared in occasional flashbacks. And co-starred with Captain America in Tales of Suspense, issues 63 through 71 in 1965. His apparent death was depicted in a flashback in the Avengers issue 56. Bucky's death has also been used to explain why the Marvel Universe has virtually no young sidekicks, as no responsible hero wants to endanger a minor in a similar fashion. Stan Lee also disliked the plot device of kid sidekicks, saying in the 1970s, "One of my many pet peeves has always been the young teenage sidekick of the average superhero." But in 2005, writer Ed Brubaker returned Bucky from his supposed death. Additionally, he revealed that Barnes' official status as Captain America's sidekick was a cover-up, and that Barnes began as a 16-year-old operative trained to do things regular soldiers and Captain America normally wouldn't do, such as conduct assassinations. With that said, it's a perfect time for me to tell you how and why Bucky became Captain America's sidekick. After losing his father at a young age during World War II, James Buchanan Barnes was adopted as the mascot for Camp Lehigh and nicknamed Bucky. Because of his skills, Bucky was sent to England on his 16th birthday, where he went through 2 months of combat training with the British SAS, and another month of special training back in the United States. To his superiors, Bucky was the best natural fighter they had ever seen. It wasn't long before he was made Captain America's partner, who unlike Cap could get his hands dirty doing the little tricks that Cap wasn't allowed to do because of his regular military methods. The press then came up with a cover story, Camp Kid becomes Cap's sidekick, which made kids all over the country think it could happen to them too. He soon joined Cap as a member of the Invaders, fighting alongside such other heroes as Namor the Submariner and Jim Hammond, who was the first Human Torch and, fun fact, was Marvel's first superhero. During this time, he teamed up with other sidekicks to form Young Allies and later the Liberty Legion to help the Invaders in their fight against the Red Skull. Bucky also teamed up with a group of teenagers called the Kid Commandos. It's a ridiculous name, I know, but it was like 30 years ago, so what are you gonna do? In the closing days of World War II, during a mission overseas to take down Baron Zemo, Captain America and Bucky hopped on a plane carrying a bomb, hoping to disarm it. Cap couldn't reach it while Bucky hung on, but it was booby-trapped and the bomb detonated. Bucky found himself too close to the explosion, which sent him and Captain America falling into the waters below. While Captain America's body was frozen in a state of suspended animation for years, Bucky's body was never found, or so we were led to believe. What really happened, though, is an experimental Soviet spy submarine was crossing the English Channel when it intercepted a transmission claiming that Captain America and Bucky had been blown up. Not far from the area, the sub quickly charted the depths and discovered Bucky's tattered body with his left arm completely torn off, flash frozen in the waters. The Soviets slowly increased his temperatures to thaw out his tissues. After administering electricity, CPR, and adrenaline directly into his heart, Bucky was brought back from the dead. While he had no memory of his previous life, Bucky demonstrated a remarkable ability, reflex memories. He knew how to fight and how to speak 4 languages, but had no clue he knew all of this. Fitting in with the cybernetic arm, the Soviets began work on the Winter Soldier project. They began mental implantation to reprogram his mind to make him loyal to no one but the Soviets. With the codename Winter Soldier, he was sent out on spy missions to blend in with the surroundings and assassinate various Cold War power players. The Winter Soldier is kept in a cryogenic stasis when not on missions to keep his mind from learning the truth. And as a result to this cryogenic stasis, he has aged only a few years to a young adult since the closing days of World War II. Flash forward a bit, Winter Soldier kidnaps Sharon Carter, an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. and former lover of Steve Rogers / Captain America. Upon her rescue, Carter tells Captain America that Winter Soldier looked like Bucky. Nick Fury confirms Winter Soldier's existence, but cannot be certain of his identity. Captain America eventually tracks down and confronts the Winter Soldier and gains control of the Cosmic Cube. He tells Winter Soldier, "Remember who you are." Regaining his memories, Bucky becomes overwhelmed by guilt over his past actions, crushing the Cosmic Cube and teleporting away. He reappears shortly after in London, England, where he helps Captain America fight off a terrorist attack. He then asks Nick Fury for employment and new equipment after he loses his bionic arm. During the Civil War storyline, Winter Soldier helps Fury plan the escape of the arrested Steve Rogers. Before the plan could be implemented, however, Rogers is assassinated. Barnes learns from Tony Stark that Steve Rogers had left Stark a letter asking Stark to watch over Barnes and that the Cap Mantle should continue. Stark suggests that Barnes become the new Captain America. Barnes agrees and becomes the new Captain America. In the Fear Itself storyline, Bucky is apparently killed by Sin/Skady, or it could be pronounced Scatty. To tell you the truth, I never really knew how to pronounce it, but shocker, Bucky survives because he was injected by the Infinity Formula. With the world believing he's dead, he returned to his former identity of Winter Soldier to perform special jobs behind the scenes relating to his earlier days as the Winter Soldier. And of course, Steve Rogers, who didn't actually die, takes back the mantle of Captain America. But I'll explain that more in next week's episode when I do a history of Captain America, and now you know what next week's episode is going to be about. As for Winter Soldier's powers and abilities, his left arm is a cybernetic prosthetic with superhuman strength and enhanced reaction time. Even when his arm is removed, Winter Soldier can mentally control it from a remote location. It can discharge bolts of electrical energy from its palm. The arm can also discharge an EMP, causing electronics to either shut down or become useless. As the Winter Soldier, Barnes became an expert assassin and spy and performed many behind-the-scenes assassinations without getting caught, making some of his kills look like accidents. Barnes is also a master of hand-to-hand combat and martial arts, as well as being skilled in the use of military weapons such as firearms and explosives. He's also fluent in many languages, including English, Spanish, Portuguese, and Japanese. Now that you know a little more about the Winter Soldier, you may want to read some comics with him in it. So I'm going to give you some good Winter Soldier reading recommendations. You have Captain America Volume 1 Winter Soldier Ultimate Collection, the Civil War storyline, Death of Captain America, the Complete Collection, Captain America Reborn, Captain America Volume 1 Winter Soldier, and Winter Soldier Volume 1 The Longest Winter. GoDaddy has everything you need to put your business online and find new customers. Get started by registering a domain name and creating your website with GoDaddy's easy-to-use website builder. Already have a site? No problem. Keep it running fast with GoDaddy Web Hosting. Visit GoDaddy.com and enter the promo code Variant30 to save 30% on your new purchases. Some limitations apply. See the website for details. First up for Wednesday, March 26th, we have Silver Surfer Issue 1. This is an all-new series that focuses on Silver Surfer and what he can discover beyond the boundaries of the known Marvel Universe. Now we have Wake Issue 7. 200 years in the future, things aren't looking good for the human race, but a new mysterious call from the deep could change everything. Next, we have Guardians of the Galaxy Issue 13. This is the conclusion of the Trial of Jean Grey's story, and it leaves two teams devastated. Here we have Superior Spider-Man Issue 30. This issue claims to have one of the most important moments in the whole Superior Spider-Man saga. So if you're a Spider-Man fan, you have to pick this up, especially with Peter Parker's return next month. Next, we have Talon Issue 17. Calvin Rose and Anya must defeat Lord Deathman. And finally, we have Batman The Dark Knight issue 29. The savagery of the Man-Bat reaches a horrifying peak in this final issue of the series. Before I bring today's episode to a close, I have to announce the winner of last week's Versus episode between Green Lantern and Nova. You guys decided the winner would be Green Lantern. And that brings another episode of Variant to a close, but remember, you can like our Variant Facebook page to keep up with the show and all things comic related. You can also talk to me on Twitter at twitter.com/Arris_Quinones, but I'll see you guys next week when I talk about all things comics. Kick Bucky Barnes, who he named after his friend, just in time for his big screen debut, in the new Captain America movie.
Sounds good.